When it comes to strength and just overall fighting ability, a lot of people consider Spider-Man from the Web of Shadows video game the strongest Spider-Man in all of gaming history. And I can't really blame them because this universe version of Spider-Man, there's implications that he's went through a lot of his similar comic book 616 comic book events in this universe. Like Wolverine legit be asking him questions like, where did you first wear the black suit? Implying that he went through the same similar events as comics when he got it from the Beyonders events. I mean, that's a good argument to say he's one of the strongest Spider-Man if he actually has went through all the events of the main continuity Spider-Man from 616. That would make his power ridiculous. I mean, you guys know some of Spider-Man's greatest feats are in the comics, and if this universe version of Spider-Man has went through similar events, that would mean he would share some of the same feats, wouldn't it? In theory, right? But yeah, this is not for certain, but there's implications that this Spider-Man could have went through the events similar to the 616 comics known as Civil War, the Superhero Registration Act. So there's a lot of stuff to put in consideration. Don't take it too seriously. This is just something to think about, I would say, right? Why is it when I think of a symbiote type invasion or story, I think of Spider-Man and Black Cat being together? Is that just me? I know I can't be alone in that, right? You guys ready? Anybody else still in Spider-Man mood or just symbiote mood in general? Spider-Man is no stranger to video gaming, even before Insomniac, Web of Shadows, Spider-Man. Have you ever wondered how strong he is? Let's get it. Like, for a second, I want you guys to imagine a symbiote invasion so incredible that other heroes that are not spider-related actually had to get involved. Like this universe version of Wolverine, Luke Cage, Moon Knight, Black Widow. I mean, even the businessman criminal Kingpin had to help out. This was like real invasion. Like, seriously, imagine being in a symbiote invasion so intense that Spider-Man actually had to call like other superheroes to help. Something you barely ever see him do in other games.
Come to think of it, where are Richards and Stark?
You've reached the headquarters of the Fantastic Four.
Reed Richards, please.
And you already guessed it, since it's a symbiote game, you know Spider-Man had to have some extra help. Even though his base self is strong, throughout this game, he had a black suit symbiote to help him out. Like, it was such an invasion that even Mary Jane had to carry a gun. Fighting Venom, he ended up getting his own symbiote, so it was black suit versus technically black suit. How does this work? But just run with it. It's a game. But as you guys already know, he's Spider-Man, so he has super strength. Something you already know, obviously, right? You guys know he's Spider-Man, so the theme of Spider-Man matches with web. He has web cartridges. You guys already know that stuff. One can say he uses web to extend his range in combat, to close the distance, to get closer to opponents. This Spider-Man is an incredible fighter. I mean, other superheroes that are super strong too actually trained him, like how he got taught a thing or two by Luke Cage, giving him a pointer or two about how he should fight. Like, he'll literally bulldozer over you. He will fight you on the side of a building with his webs, mixed with his acrobatics if he needs to. He's not afraid of doing web type of constructs, like literally making a shield out of web to parry attacks. We've even seen him use web parachutes on his civilians. He's not afraid to do old-fashioned punches the old-fashioned way or kicks mixed into it, but he'll also mix in symbiote combat on top of it, not just normal attacks. There's also clear evidence in his combat speed. I mean, I know this is probably just an animation, but this could imply his fighting speed on how he can make his hands look like a blur like a Gatling gun. That appears to be fighting speed to me, honestly, if I'm being honest. This same type of combat speed goes for his web shooters too. He just has fast hands. This is how he can easily overwhelm his foes. There's even moments where it appears he can do after images. Like, look closely at his body. It looks like literal after images via speed, moving to the side, left and right. Is that fighting speed or what? There's even cutscenes that imply it because it shows him shooting web really fast, so it is a part of the game, not just gameplay mechanics. I can't make this stuff up, y'all. This is literally combat speed. This could be because of spider sense, but he got caught off guard and was still able to react to Felicia's attacks. We see Vulture throw all these blades at him. He reacts to all of that. Then, like, literally steps on him running mid-flight. I mean, this is a spider theme, like when it comes to fighting Electro, being it can use lightning or electricity. Spider-Man can react to these attacks, partly because of spider sense, knowing when he's going to blast, and he's just fast too. Spider sense and fighting speed and all that stuff put together. In this universe, there's implications that Electro can actually turn into actual lightning. And when you look at the gameplay, look how he just like zips around, turning into electricity, it appears. But when it comes to his web attacks, he can do like his own Kamehameha web blast in very convenient ways. I'm talking about omnidirectional web attacks that hit people in a wide radius. When it's a lot of beings or entities around him, he can affect them all. And this is just technically his base state. He also has a symbiote mode, obviously, that I haven't really got on much in this video. But when we're talking about his black suit, he can do everything I just mentioned, but with more range, or one could say with more power. Like I already mentioned how he can do a web shield normally, but he can do like a symbiote shield too with this state. Like, he has significantly increased range, making long tendrils like literally stretchy Mr. Fantastic type stuff. You see that range of them tendrils? Like, he can even shoot out a piece of his symbiote outward and have it come back to him. Like, yo, long range attack, like boom, from way over there. Yeah, you're just not escaping him. This ending probably isn't canon, or this scenario probably didn't happen technically, but when you as the player get to choose in this particular situation, you can kind of give some of your symbiote away to somebody to heal them up and make them a symbiote like how he did to Felicia here. Even though this is a bad choice type of ending, this is something he probably can do, one could argue, because Venom did this to him, so it's kind of makes sense a little bit. So when we're talking about physical strength, it's little stuff you would expect, being able to lift up grown humans or even symbiote-bonded humans with one arm with ease. He can not only lift these beings, but sling them with ease. He makes this look easy. It's not like you think. I mean, look how he can just sling them like he can put a whole bunch of symbiote crap in his fists and release it all at once to make a devastating shockwave. So when it comes to his raw strength, you already know this. He can lift up vehicles and even toss them. Black suit or just red suit, it doesn't matter which one. You see big structures like this, he has the super strength to push down with ease, even though it's way bigger than his body. The feats get crazier when we see him actually get a bell thrown at him. You're probably thinking, why does this matter? Well, I know this isn't super big like you would expect. These bells weigh a lot more than you think, and he's strong enough to lift it up, legs, arms, and then sling it that far. He tried to hit it back, then Spider-Man uses his web to push it right back. I know this is wild to think about, but this already proves he can already lift 50 plus tons. And this is actually being disrespectful because there's bells in real life that weigh 90 tons, and you can kind of get an idea of how big it is compared to a normal human in images like this. And I think we all can agree the one that Spider-Man lifted looked a lot bigger than this human compared to the bell's actual size. Like the one Spider-Man lifted looked a lot heavier. Or one could say a lot bigger in general when we see him lift it up. This could also prove that he can lift hundreds of tons because he slung it that far, meaning that weight wasn't his max. Because if something is your max, you can't lift it up and toss it several feet. Like your max, that means you can barely lift it up. He's tossing it in the air. I've seen calcs to say that this bell weighs hundreds or even up to 400 tons. Honestly, it's pretty much implications that he can hold several tanks on his back at the same time, hundreds of tons, you know what I mean? Web of Shadow Spider-Man. Even when all this weight got launched in the air at him, he was able to resist the pull and push it back with his raw strength. I could personally see him lifting a tank up in each arm, if we're being honest. Or lift up several blue whales or something, you know. With all this physical strength, there's no wonder he can punch hard. Like, you know he can hit hard because he's faced a whole bunch of different type of symbiotes in the game. None of these symbiotes are really a match for him unless we're talking about the higher end symbiotes like Venom himself, or even beings with battle armor. They're just no match when it comes to his striking power. He can do crazy damage to beings that are armored up. So symbiotes are not safe. There's implications his hits can produce shockwaves. He can just hit hard enough to actually make vehicles explode. Vehicles blow up, shockwaves from the impact of his landing. It would be just straight up weird if you didn't believe at this point in the video that he can definitely punch through thick concrete with his punches. I mean, at this point, that's pathetically easy if we're being honest. When you have the strength to lift 100 tons, you have to be able to hit like a freight train. That's why there's implications of shockwaves from his hits. This Peter or Spider-Man is no exception. He can hit hard just like how he can exert that much force through lifting. Against normal humans, he would definitely have to hold back. You can't be hitting people with hundreds or even close to a couple 100 tons of force, so he has to hold back. Or else his punches would feel like multiple tanks falling on your face, and that would be death. You probably didn't know bells like this that actually exist in real life can actually weigh 90 tons and Spider-Man can lift it. So what the heck do you think his punches feel like? You know what I'm saying? And the bell he lifted in the game like it was bigger than this one, as you can see compared to the size of this kid. The bell that Spider-Man lifted had to be heavier, you know. We're not going to ignore that the being that he fought doing this was a symbiote Wolverine, guys. Somebody that Spider-Man was fighting in this game when it comes to fist fighting. Somebody that had enough strength to punch this big bell back that weighs hundreds of tons, or 100 tons at least, and had the nerve to destroy it. So there's a great possibility Spider-Man, if he wanted to punch it, he could launch this bell in the air with a punch. If the beings that he's fighting can do similar to this, and we've seen Spider-Man get in a fist fight with this same version of Wolverine that's this strong, he can go head to head with him blow for blow. This also lets you know that Spider-Man's body can withstand the same amount that he can dish out because he's literally been slammed by this being and he can keep on fighting. I mean, he was literally fighting a Wolverine that got amped up by more symbiote stuff after he was already amped up by symbiote to add more claws to him. Like, bruh. I mean, in one of the choices of the game, which may or may not be canon, Spider-Man actually had the raw strength to rip this Wolverine symbiote hybrid being in half. He technically got the symbiote off of him, but yeah. This just further backs up the fact they can hit things that weigh hundreds of tons in the air. Black suit him should be able to launch it in the air. You get the idea. To make matters worse, we've seen him literally fight with a super building-sized Venom. A Venom that's this large, by the way. Yeah, this Venom was like a Hydra Mega Venom with multiple heads. Yeah, don't ask. It was this large. And when it comes to how hard this Spider-Man can punch, when it comes to these heads, he can actually punch and damage these things. Proving he can damage things that are actually building or house-sized. Taking out each head one by one like this in a similar fashion to where it just actually messes up the entire head. This entity that he's damaging with his punches, this super mega venom with multiple heads like a Hydra, body is actually durable enough to withstand helicarrier cannon type stuff that can easily level buildings, blasters, this strong. And that's not even enough to take him out, because we literally see it get back up. Like, buildings obviously vary in size, but yeah, there's plenty of evidence to indicate if he was to pull up to one of these buildings like this, for example, if he just wanted to be a butthole or just cause property damage and ruin businesses, he would have the raw strength if he wanted to punch him down with his bare hands if he just wanted to be a butthole. His punch is literally damaging a being that can withstand cannons from a helicarrier. Like, in a way, you could say Spider-Man's punches are similar to certain missiles or things that can tremble or level buildings. Things that can collapse buildings. His punches can damage beings that can withstand cannons that blow away buildings. You get it? It would just make sense for Spider-Man's punches to be this ridiculous. And technically, in the good ending, which I think we all can agree would probably be the canon ending, he technically didn't have the symbiote or black suit no more when he was actually harming this Mega Venom. Depending on which choices you made in the game, he actually lost this, so this kind of makes his base form look even more impressive, fighting a super symbiote in base state without the help of a super symbiote, you know? To add on top of it, we not only seen him fight his main Rogues Gallery people like Vulture, for example, but we seen him fight Vulture and overpower him here in the fight, for example, but also when Vulture got symbiote powered up, like here, for example, Vulture being powered up by the symbiote. Part of this is Spider-Man's strength, but part of this is battle IQ, using his wings, or one could say bladed weapon wings against him to get the jump on him, one could say. Defeating Vulture twice in the same game. One symbiote, one without symbiote, because of his strength. We've actually seen Spider-Man take on Electro when Electro doesn't have the symbiote, and you guessed it, he got infected. What a symbiote, yeah. And made go night-night. Like, I'm talking about hammering him. Dang, Peter, you smashing your fist in his face in this symbiote state, ain't you? Good gosh. But what do you guys think? How strong do you think this version of Spider-Man is? I definitely think he's up there when it comes to his strength, because this dude did comic book stuff like even making constructs. We don't even see that in games hardly no more. Constructs out of his web, that is. This is actually something I want to see in future Spider-Man games, honestly. Showing the creativity with the web, wouldn't you agree? But how strong do you think this Spider-Man is? How much do you think he can lift? How hard do you think he can punch? I definitely think he can punch down the support pillars of a building like this, like these little stone junks. I think he can punch that down and make the thing collapse or destabilize it with his punches. Standard Spider-Man stuff that we're used to, right? But before I get going, I gotta say a quick thanks to the donators real quick. It helps out a lot. Respect Web of Shadows Spider-Man. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.